A warm welcome to the fifth film in our modular coordination series. In it, we ask how butt and bed joints affect modular coordination. As we saw at the start of this series, bricks and blocks can only be used to build strong and stable walls if mortar is used to hold them together. The butt and bed, or vertical and horizontal joints between the bricks, also have to have a certain dimension. Firstly, because it's technically impossible to apply a super-thin film of mortar, and secondly, because the joints need to be able to compensate for small variations in the size of the bricks. The size of mortar joints is also laid down in German standard DIN 4172. As a general rule, butt joints are 1 cm wide and bed joints are 1.2 cm high. DIN 4172 goes on to define the role of joints in masonry sizing. The standard distinguishes between the theoretical modular or coordinating size, which should be a multiple of 6.25 centimeters, as we've already seen, and working or specified size, corresponding to the modular size taking into account the width of the joint. To put it simply, working size equals coordinating size plus or minus joint size. The working size of a brick is therefore equal to the coordinating size minus the joint width, whereas the working size of an opening corresponds to the coordinating size plus the joint width. This section of DIN 4172 provides an example calculation. The room width is a multiple of 25 centimeters, in this case 12 by 25 centimeters. This is probably easier to understand if we combine the two calculations. The room width corresponds to 12 24 centimeter wide bricks, which, when added to the standard joint width of 1 centimeter, gives a modular size of 25 centimeters plus one further joint to connect to the partition wall. The full calculation is therefore 12 times 24 plus 1 equals 12 times 24 plus 1 equals 300 plus 1 equals 301 centimeters. The presence of a mortar joint explains the difference between modular size and working size. The dimensions of the individual bricks are, of course, always working sizes, as the joints are not added until they are laid on site. The brick sizes shown here are standard working sizes. DF stands for thin format, NF for normal format, and 2DF, etc. refer to multiples of the thin format. It's a messy but unavoidable fact that brick sizes sometimes have to be rounded up or down, width 17.5 centimeters, height 7.1 centimeters. Wage costs in Germany are notoriously high. Bricks and blocks are therefore made as big as possible in an attempt to reduce the number of mortar joints, which are costly in terms of labour, whilst ensuring a size and weight that can still be laid manually by bricklayers. For this reason, sand lime blocks larger than the 2DF format, for example, have handholds to facilitate one-handed lifting. Blocks that are too heavy to be laid solely by hand can be lifted into place using a small hoist. The use of lifting equipment of this type is now fairly common. It's a practice that marks the transition from manual to industrial construction techniques. Summary. DIN 4172 specifies the size of standard mortar joints. Butt joints are generally 1 centimeter wide, bed joints are usually 1.2 centimeters high. The presence of a mortar joint explains the difference between modular size and working size. Remember, working size equals coordinating size plus minus joint size. Why not take a look at the last film in our modular coordination series? In it, we explain the various types of dimension found in masonry construction.